Hi, I'm Rob, and in this Gems of War video, I'm going to take a look in the Soulforge and tell you what I think is worth crafting in there, what you should craft and what you should possibly avoid. As well as that, we'll take a look at this latest glory troop, the Orpheus Priestess. Anyway, what did the left eye say to the right eye? Between us, something smells. Oh yeah. Anyway, Orpheus Priestess, let's take a look. Oops, pressed the wrong button. That's a good start to the day. Anyway, she gives all other allies a quarter of their mana and cleanses them. So that's actually a pretty useful spell. Give all allies a quarter of their mana. It's a shame it's all other allies. It would have been nice if she gave a little bit to herself as well, because she's an odd number, 11. It means she would only have received 2, because the fractions are rounded down in this game when they do a spell like this. So I should have only received 2. Was it so bad that she received a little bit of mana herself? Or did they not want her to be able to cleanse herself at the same time? Because the cleanse also applies to other troops. But still, it's quite a handy spell, that. Not too bad. She's immune to silence. And she's a divine inhuman. So, yeah, that's got potential in different teams. Not too bad at all. I'm going to give that a 6 out of 10. A cleanse is always useful. And in a mana-heavy team with some really mana-heavy troops, that can actually be quite a useful spell, so not too bad. As ever, if you have the glory, I would always recommend taking these all the way up to enough to get a mythic version, because then you can get this to level 20, and that is going to aid your power level kingdoms in the long run. And whilst you're here, we can grab some resources, spoils of war. You can have 10 max a week, always worth doing if you have excess glory. Extra souls, extra gold, extra event keys, always good, and joy of joys, even more treasure maps. You know you love them. Okay, now let's take a look in the Soulforge. Let's take a look at the weapons first. First up, we have Golden Sun. Eliminates all armor from an enemy. Gains a magic +1 gold, boosted by armor eliminated. Now, these weapons that do this, eliminate all armor from an enemy, can be really good, especially on those levels where the enemy is really powerful, has a lot of armor, and you can just eliminate it all in one go. There are, of course, other weapons which do a better job of this. I'm thinking of you, Mang and Earth's Fury. They do a boost to attack at the same time, which is better than getting that extra gold a lot of the time. But those weapons, Mang and Earth's Fury, both use red and brown, where this uses purple and yellow. So this can be a useful weapon if you are restricted by mana colors, for example, and can't use those weapons I just said. So still may well have a place and still be pretty useful. Orpheus's verse deals magic-based damage to an enemy, boosted by human allies. Then create a mix of 6 blue and yellow gems for each human ally. So this uses red and purple. It's going to generate blue and yellow, but make sure you have all humans in your team to benefit the most from that, and make sure obviously that they use some blue and yellow. At least 2 of them use blue and yellow to generate or to make use of that mana generation. Pendant of the Empire. Remove all blue gems. Notice that is with no effect, so they're just removed, gone. Then deal magic-based damage to an enemy, boosted by the gems removed. If the enemy is from Leonis Empire, or if the battle is in Leonis Empire, deal a double damage. So very good against troops from Leonis Empire, or if they're in Leonis Empire, and you also remove the color they like the most, which is blue. Just make sure your team doesn't use blue to make the most of that, otherwise you're going to hinder yourself with mana generation at the same time. So it does have its place, but is fairly situational. Trace Hook. Magic-based damage to an enemy, boosted by Leonis Empire allies. Then create a mix of 6 yellow and brown gems for each Leonis Empire ally. So similarly to the other one, this uses purple and green, but creates yellow and brown. So make sure the other members of your team, at least a couple of them, use yellow and brown to make the most of that mana generation. If that's the case, can be very, very good indeed. First we got Fleur de Lion. Magic +3 heavy splash damage to an enemy. Heavy splash damage is that initial damage plus 75% of that damage to adjacent enemies. And if the enemy is stunned, explode 4 gems. Better if you can get the enemy stunned via another troop's spell or trait. So you get that explode 4 gems whenever you cast it. But note that this does have stunned as part of its upgrade path, which means that when you cast it, the enemy will be stunned. And if you can cast this again quite quickly afterwards, you will benefit from that explode 4 gems, which is going to aid your mana generation on all your team. And what else we got? King's Dagger. Explodes magic +1 blue gems. Grant a random status effect to all rogue allies. Then summon a rogue troop. I'm a big fan of these weapons, these ones that explode gems. They generate mana, you get that status effect and a summon at the same time. It's not absolutely essential that your other troops are, in this case, rogue allies to benefit from that status effect. Not essential at all. It's the summon which is useful. And if you get to cast this again after that, then that troop will benefit from those status effects. So really good indeed. I do like those weapons a lot. Right, now let's take a look at the mythics. We'll start at the bottom and work up. Tourmaline, underrated mythic for me. I do like this one. Deals damage to all enemies, which is really good for hitting stealthy opponents. Then drains 4 mana from all enemies, boosted by gargoyle gems. Now the reason this is so good is because it just works really well with a troop like Charleston in a construct team. Charleston will loop better in an all construct team, but this is worth the payoff. It's not a construct, so Charleston doesn't loop quite as good, but it's still enough. And the reason is, Tourmaline creates a good gargoyle gem when matching 4 or more gems. So if you get that good start with Charleston and start looping pretty quickly, which you can, because in a construct team, she'll already start with 50% mana, so just a collection of brown half the time gets her ready to go absolutely straight away. You can then get some of those 4 matches, which is going to create gargoyle gems. Then when you cast Tourmaline, which uses brown as well, drains 4 mana from all enemies as well as doing that damage. So in those teams that start with empowered troops and things like that, or half mana start, you can actually drain all their mana really, really easily with Tourmaline. Really good. Do like it a lot. Next up, we have Ironhawk. Ironhawk is finally here. I know there is people absolutely waiting for this to appear in the Soulforge, and by coincidence or by design, it happens to appear just after the last vault has ended. What do you know? Anyway, Ironhawk is here finally. The spell is create 12 Doom Skulls, then explode a bunch of gems. So it can be used to deal some damage. That damage can be a bit up and down. It's a bit random. But then it can generate a lot of mana at the same time with that explosion of all those gems. But the reason why people get it is not particularly for this spell, it's for use in a Nomapalooza or Explore level 1. Because in certain teams, Ironhawk is really, really fast. You can use this with 2 times Dust Devil, because Dust Devil does damage to all, and when you combine that with this artillery support of deal 5 damage to all enemies when an ally casts a spell, you can just do like Explore level 1s so quick with Ironhawk. And if you can afford 2 of these, things get even better, because you can then have a Greed with a Dust Devil, cast Greed, cast Dust Devil, you do a little bit more damage as well, and again it's even quicker because you're doing extra damage. You're doing 10 times damage to all enemies now, so it's like really, really fast. And yeah, people love it for Nomapaloozas and Explore level 1s and things like that. It's probably worth it just for that alone. So Ironhawk, really, really good. Vash Dagon, fun troop this. Sounds a bit mad at first. Devour an ally, then summon a daemon if the ally is devoured. So do make sure the ally you intend to devour is not immune to devour, otherwise that will fail. Then deal a magic-based true scatter damage boosted by my life. So that can be really, really good indeed. Vash Dagon, situational and needs to be used properly and correctly, but can be really good. Ketrus the Bull. Magic-based splash damage to an enemy boosted by my attack, life and armor. So if your attack and life and armor is really high, this can be considerable amount of splash damage. Pretty good in a Tauros team. It's divine as well, which is quite interesting. And yeah, reduced damage from skulls by 25% is not bad. Gain 2 attack and armor and life when matching red gems is okay, but not as good as Ferocity's 3rd trait. But yeah, overall, not too shabby, Sherlock. Is that it? Was that 4? 1, 2, yes. Right, let's look at the legendaries ever so quickly. Zernabog creates 10 brown gems, then explodes pretty much all the gems on the board in my case. It's magic +1. So it can be good for generation of brown in particular, but does conjure a dust storm when my turn begins, and this is the main reason to use this. A dust storm is brown, and the dust plume is when my turn begins. Not to be confused with at the start of battle. When you get one of these ones that conjures a dust storm, for example, at the start of battle, that is literally that, and it can be gone in a couple of turns, or if somebody else's storm overwrites yours. This is the start of his turn. So all the while Zernabog is in the team, you are going to get a dust storm, which is brown. So really good if you need a constant requirement of brown in your team. Obregonia. Another troop that does damage to all enemies, so that is always good. As I mentioned before, really good against stealthy opponents. And this inflicts bleed at the same time, which is basically true damage. And bleed can stack, so you cast this multiple times, and that can be really good. A lot of damage at the same time, as well as doing that bleed effect. So really nice. Do you like Obregonia? Where's the other two? Drakos 1337. Silence, stun, and drain magic +1 mana from an enemy with a 25% chance to destroy them, or just kill them outright. So if you don't mind these troops that have that chance effect to do something to kill someone, then not too bad. It is good when it works, but yeah, at 25% sometimes it feels like you're just rolling the dice all the time and hoping something's going to happen rather than knowing something's going to happen, which I prefer with another team myself. Bunnynog. My goodness, this rabid rabbit hates knights. Deal magic +2 damage to an enemy, and if the enemy is a knight, deal double damage. And there's also a 50% chance to devour knights. And they deal 5 times skull damage versus knights. So yeah, these guys seriously hate knights. And I don't mean like day and night, I mean knights, the ones with the shiny armor and shields and stuff. So yeah, very good versus knight teams. And that is it. So who gets my Mythic of the Week? Well, just because it's been waited for so long, it can only be one thing really. I mean, these other troops are good. Vashtagon had its place in certain teams, as does Ketras the Bull, as does Tourmaline. But just because it's so good in Nomapaloozas and Explore level 1s, and you can get 2 of these and they can be so effective, it has to be Ironhawk. Very, very good indeed in those kind of teams. So Ironhawk is my Mythic of the Week. Well, there's the video. If you enjoyed it, liked it, any of that kind of stuff, then be sure to bash that like and subscribe button. It really does help. And I'll catch you again next time. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.